Hey, David here with Artisan Concrete and Surface Works. I'm here in a hotel in Dallas, Texas with, they've got a beautiful natural marble countertop in here, and so I thought it'd be a great opportunity for me to kind of highlight some of the differences between our epoxy countertops and natural stone. Obviously, natural stone is very beautiful, and some people just want to have something natural in their home, and I totally get that. We actually have granite in our home because that's what we put in when we moved in there before I was working with resins. But definitely when those are ready to go, we will be going with epoxy, and here are a few of the reasons why. Number one, the epoxy that we put down is extremely durable. Everybody thinks that natural stone is the strongest thing that you can have, but you can't. But it's not. It can crack. It can expand and contract with heat and cause cracking that way, and it's not terribly impact resistant. The epoxy that we put down is more impact resistant than concrete or natural stone. So you're never going to have an issue with cracking. You're never going to have an issue with a little corner of your island breaking off because somebody dropped something heavy on it and now you have to replace the entire thing. So that's one advantage. People ask a lot about scratch resistance, and I try to be upfront with people. Anything you put on your countertop can scratch. If you cut on epoxy or on natural stone, you can get little micro scratches in it, and you can see if the camera will pick it up. I mean, you can see here. And this countertop has got scratches all over it. So, you want to be careful with whatever surface that you have. The great thing about the epoxy that we put down is that if you ever do get a scratch in it, you can spot treat it and repair it with a buffing compound, or if you have it for 5 years and you've got little micro scratches in different places and you want to revitalize it, it's as simple as using a little bit of sandpaper and a buffing compound, and you can find videos all over the internet showing how to sand and polish epoxy. I'll probably make one at some point, but it seems a little redundant because there's great videos out there already. If you wanted to revitalize this countertop, let's say you had it in your kitchen, you would be needing to call a professional to come out with expensive buffing equipment. They would have to sand down the top layer of this stone and repolish it, which can be extremely expensive, and it's definitely not something a homeowner or a DIYer would want to take on unless they were really skilled and had some really great equipment. So just the maintenance aspect of not ever having to hire a professional to come back to do that sort of thing, if you want to keep it scratch free, is a big plus. Also, you can see here, this surface is pretty dulled out. If you look at this backsplash, you can see in the reflection, somebody's knocking on the hotel door, that this was once very shiny, but obviously this top has gotten a lot of wear, and that's just what happens with natural stone. It's the same with the granite in our house. There's quite a lot of dulling that's taken place over the years, and so like I said, if you wanted to repair this, you would have to hire a professional. It'd be very expensive, and it's just a hassle. Most people don't want to go through that. With the epoxy, it actually holds its shine much better than natural stone, even without having to revitalize it. And if you ever did want to sand and polish again, it's something you could do yourself, or you could hire us to come out and do at a fraction of the cost of what you'd have to pay for someone to do that with natural stone. So another thing that you'll notice about this surface, and this is true of all natural stones, is that this is a very porous surface. It's got little fissures and cracks in it that are just natural to the formation of the stone. And even in the areas that are flat, it's very porous. So there's a lot of little nooks and crannies for water and bacteria to get in there and collect, which is not something you want on your eating surfaces, just in terms of sanitary factors. And also it makes it a lot more susceptible to staining. I noticed through here, there's just different spots right there. At first I thought, oh, that's just a water spot. That'll come off, but I tried to get that off. Let's see here. you know, that's not something that's going to wash off. If you wanted to get that out, I don't know if that's a soap stain or whatever, but if you wanted to get something like that out, or something like these rings right here, I guess from a bottle of soap or shampoo, again, you'd have to hire someone to come and sand through a fine layer of the top and then bring it back up to a shine. That does not happen with epoxy countertops. You can spill soap on it, you can spill grease on it. It's 100% non-porous, so it doesn't collect moisture or bacteria, and it doesn't stain nearly as easily. Even our granite countertops at home, I've got areas where grease has sat longer than it should have, and it's darker. And so anyways, that's another advantage. Another thing that's great about epoxy countertops is just the design flexibility. You know, this is a beautiful piece of stone here. This is a look we could emulate, but you know, when you pick natural stone, you're basically limited to what they have in the stone yard. With epoxy countertops, there's such a huge range of what we can do to make it look exactly like what you're wanting. And each piece is a piece of art, so you know, you can't micromanage exactly what each square inch is going to look like, but there's a huge range of flexibility, and you know, you just get more custom options when you do it that way. Another thing I noticed is when you're piecing together natural stone backsplashes, you've got all sorts of, you know, imperfections in the way the stone sits together. Got a big gap that runs all the way across there. It gets wider at some places and narrower just because the stone's not 100% flat. When we do, oh look, there's another scratch, I guess, from rubbing this plate on the side there. But when we do epoxy countertops, we will fabricate the backsplashes and install them first, and then pour the epoxy right up to here. It covers over that gap, and you get a totally seamless look. So it just looks like a super well done installation. You don't have any imperfections like that. And then of course the price, you know, for super high-end stone, exotic stone looks, you know, you can pay upwards of $150 a square foot. With the looks that we get, rival, I would say, any natural stone I've ever seen. And with all those functional advantages, you know, you're paying sometimes half or less what you would pay for the same thing in a natural stone. So anyways, you know, like I said at the beginning, I love natural stone too. You know, it's beautiful and it comes from nature and all that, but just thought I'd share a few reasons why my next countertops are going to be epoxy and why I think it's got some huge advantages over natural stone. So let me know what you think. Would you consider doing epoxy for your countertops, or do you prefer natural stone? Go ahead and tell me in the comments. If you have any questions, I always try to answer them as quickly as I can, so feel free to leave them. And if you wouldn't mind, just give us a like, and you know, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you next time.